Yogah Karmasu Kaushalam.
Hello friends, this is Dr. Kishor Bhanushali from Karnataka University, Gandhinagar, and I'm here to talk about a very important topic, Human Development Index. Many of you might have heard of Human Development Report prepared by UNDP, United Nations Development Program. We'll be going one step ahead in terms of understanding where do India stand in global picture. Before I begin, I would like to take this opportunity to thank UGC Human Resource Development Center, Professor Jagdish Joshi and his entire team, and also this refresher course coordinator, Dr. Mumta Brahmbhatt, for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this important topic. My association with Gujarat University is very old. I did my PhD from Gujarat University way back in 2008 from School of Social Science under the guideship of then director Professor Bharadwaj. Since then I know the activities of UGC Human Resource Development Center, and I'm associated with Center as a resource person for their orientation program, refresher programs, and I'm happy to know that this center has been doing an excellent job in terms of organizing refresher course, orientation course for the PhD program. Also, there are modules for online courses, offering online courses, and many more activities that center is doing. So I'm happy to be associated with center. Moving ahead with this topic, Human Development Index, where do we stand? Before moving on to Human Development Index, let's understand how this concept has evolved over a period of time. Human Development Index, the first report of UNDP came in the year 1991. Prior to that, we had a concept called economic growth. And when you say economic growth, it focuses more on the production of economic goods and services. And economic growth increases when your production increases. So it is primarily a comparing the production of goods and services between two periods. So we have production for the last year, production for the current year. We compare, and whatever production increase has resulted, it's called economic growth. So in a way, economic growth focuses more on increase in aggregate production. You have both real measure or nominal measure. We had economic growth at current price and also constant price. Current price captures also the effect of inflation, whereas constant price in economic growth is more of a proper and real growth we talk about. There are various measures which are used for measuring economic growth. Most prominently and widely used measure is GDP, gross domestic product. But other than GDP, we have NDP, NNP, GNP, NNPFC, and many such measures of economic growth most widely used across the world. When you say economic growth, it all depends on the factors of production. The contributing factors of production include your land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship skill, and again, we also talk of technology. So these are the input which helps you in increasing production. And when production increases, we say, yes, economic growth is taking place. So primarily, the focus of economic growth was on the availability and use of factors of production. So the country with a higher GDP was considered to be better as compared to the country with a lower growth in GDP. So that's what economic growth was meant for. But over a period of time, we realized that economic growth is not sufficient. Increase in production is not sufficient. What is more important is how this production is distributed. With increasing production, if income inequalities are increasing, the production is not equally distributed among the manpower, then it has no meaning at all. From there, the another concept of emerge, and that concept is economic development. This economic development was a broader concept, much broader than economic growth. And when you say economic development, we are primarily talking about development of people, well-being of the people, living standard of the people, quality of the life of the people. So economic development, rather than focusing only on production, try to capture people, their development in terms of living standard, quality of life. So it was more of a transformation which involved quantitative as well as qualitative improvement. So focusing more on a quality of life. Quality of the life of the people. To what extent this quality of life has improved? It focuses on freedom and choices, capabilities, and it also focuses on sustainable growth. GDP growth, your core economic growth may not be sustainable if it is not supported by economic development. So for sustainable economic growth also you need economic development. So we need growth. Along with economic growth, we want poverty to come down. We want more opportunity in terms of job. We want people to have more choices. We want people to have more freedom in terms of making choices of goods and services that are available to them. We want living standard of the people to go up. We want people to have better quality of life. These all components are incorporated in economic development. That's what economic development is meant for. And from there, the concept of human development emerge. So before we move on to human development, I would like to show you a small clipping prepared by UNDP. So let's see what UNDP has to tell about human development. This is a promo video. Moving ahead with the presentations, human development is defined as the process of enlarging people's freedom and opportunities and improving their well-being. So in a way, it is focusing more on freedoms or opportunities of making a choices. Human development is all about real freedom ordinary people have to decide who to be, what to be, and how to live. So people should have choices in terms of what they want to be, who they want to be, and how do they live. So if these choices are not available, economic growth alone has no meaning at all. The concept of human development was developed by an economist Mehboob Haq. Dr. Haq argued that existing measure of human progress fail to account for the true purpose of development. And the true purpose of development is to improve lives of the people. In particular, Dr. Haq believed that commonly used measure of gross domestic product, we call it GDP, actually fail to adequately measure the well-being. So GDP is not measuring the well-being of the people in an adequate sense. That's where we need some better measurement. So UNDP has prepared this Human Development Index. And HDI was created to emphasize that people and their capabilities should be the ultimate criteria for accessing the development of the countries, not economic growth alone. It means economic growth cannot be the only criteria. There should be emphasis on people, capabilities of the people. So what happens to the capabilities of the key people should be the ultimate criteria for accessing the development, which cannot be judged just by economic growth. So we have Human Development Index, and this Human Development Index is a summary measure of average achievement. I'm repeating, summary measure of average achievement in three key dimensions. And these three important key dimensions are long and healthy life, being knowledgeable, and achieving a decent standard of living. Let's focus on the dimension again. Key three dimensions. Long and healthy life, everybody needs it. Economic growth have no meaning if people are not living long and healthy life. Second, being knowledgeable. It means educated. If you're not knowledgeable, if you're not educated, you'll not be able to make right kind of choices. And third, having a decent standard of living. This decent standard of living means goods and services that are available to you for consumption according to your choices. So these three dimensions are captured in Human Development Index, and we have just seen in that video as well. And based on these three dimensions, HDI is developed, and this HDI is a geometric mean of normalized indices of each of these three dimensions. So UNDP collects the data on each of these three dimensions, and then geometric mean is computed after normalization of the data. Now, how do they capture this dimension? So health dimension is captured by life expectancy at birth. On an average, how many years an individual is expected to live at the time of birth? That is life expectancy, which captures health dimension. For capturing education dimension, UNDP has two measures. Mean years of schooling for adult who are age 25 and above. So for all those people who are aged 25 and above, what is average years of schooling that they had? And for those school entering age, how many expected years of schooling that we are talking about? So expected years of schooling for children of school entering age, and mean years of schooling for adult aged 25 and more. These two important components are added as education dimension. For capturing the standard of living, the UNDP report or index captures per capita gross national income. So national income, per capita income. So when per capita income goes up, we expect that people to have better standard of living. This is how these three dimensions are captured under Human Development Index. And again, this is an image. We have just seen the video. These three dimensions, so long and healthy life, knowledge, and decent standard of living. And for each of these dimensions, we have an indicator. So life expectancy at birth for long and healthy lifetime dimension, expected years of schooling and mean years of schooling as an indicator of knowledge dimension, and gross national income per capita, and since it has to be global comparison, UNDP uses purchasing power parity index, so PPP in terms of dollar. So GNI per capita is indicator of decent standard of living, and based on this UNDP prepared dimension index, so life expectancy index, education index, and GNI index. and based on three indices, final human development index is prepared. Now when you say human development report, the first human development report was released by UNDP in the year 1990, a major contribution by Dr. Mehboob Haq and Nobel laureate Professor Amartya Sen. And according to this human development report, human development or a human development approach is about expanding richness of human life rather than simply richness of the economy in which human being lives. To make it this bit simple, now when you say economy is growing, economic growth is there, it means economy is becoming more and more rich. This is richness of the economy. HDI focuses on richness of human life. It means people living in that country should have rich life. So we need rich economy for rich life of the people, but rich economy is not the only parameters. For richness of the human being, we need more dimensions like education and health as well. So it is an approach that focuses on people and their opportunities and choices. So it has been made very clear under Human Development Report that it focuses on people, their opportunities and choices. That's what Human Development Report does. And what these concepts are. So again, contents are taken from Human Development Report. When people, it's saying human development focuses on improving the lives of the people that they live, rather than assuming that economic growth will automatically will create well-being of the people. So we had an economics concept called percolation principle. So we cannot assume that economic growth automatically will percolate down to improve the lives of the people. Economic growth is seen as a means to development rather than end in itself. So economic growth is not end in itself. Economic growth is a means which ultimately leads to development. And this development of whom? Development of people, not of the nature, not of the country. When it comes to opportunities, human development is about giving people a freedom to live the lives they value. Everybody should have the more freedom of living life that they value, life that they want to live. Okay, in effect, it means developing the capabilities and abilities of the people, giving them a chance to use them. So you need to develop capabilities among the people to give them a chance to use them. So opportunities are available, but then people should be able enough to use these opportunities. For that, they should have a choices. So human development fundamentally is about more choices. It provides a people with an opportunity. It's not about insisting that they use them, but it's about providing an opportunities and making them capable to use those opportunities. No one can guarantee human happiness, and choices people make are their own concern. So people are making their own choices. We should make them capable to make their choices. We should provide them enough opportunities so that they can improve their lives. They can live the life that they value. So these are important principles of human development. And these principles are based for Human Development Report. And this is Human Development Report. The last Human Development Report was released by United Nations Development Program for the year 21-22, and this is a cover page. Let me show you the entire report as well. So those interested in can look into United Nations website, and United Nations report, UNDP report is available in both the format. One, they have uploaded a 44 page, a small overview of the report. So if you don't want to get into the entire reading of the Human Development Report, I request you to go through this 44 page review of. And the title of this report is Uncertain Time, Unsettled Lives, Shaping Our Future in a Transforming World. Because this report was prepared in the midst of COVID crisis. So it is we're trying to capture more of an uncertain time. So that was a title that they given. And the entire report is also available on UNDP website, which is around 320 page document. And it captures a lot of things. There are a good number of articles, there are specific ideas given there, and a lot of information is available. So those interested in can go through UNDP report, available in public domain, free on UNDP website. Going back to our presentations again. So this is the cover page of the UNDP report. And if you look at the global scenario, this is an image that are taken from the report. And the intention of taking this is to give you a specific idea about two recent crises. So we had a global financial crisis in 2008 and the recent COVID-19 pandemic. How this crisis have affected World Human Development Index in terms of value. So since 1991, HDI reports are available, and if you look at this entire progress, the Human Development Index shows a continuous improvement till 1990 pandemic. And even if you look at this year 2008 financial crisis have not adversely affected human development. So even in this crisis period, human development continued, because those were primarily a financial crisis, and those financial crises have not adversely affected human development. So the journey of growing human development continued post financial crisis as well. But because of pandemic, human development index for the world have adversely impacted. So this blue line, dotted line indicate the projected rate which are supposed to grow, but the number line says that it has declined. So this is what impact a COVID-19 pandemic has on human development. So this is what human development has impacted the world at large. Moving ahead, this is index and comparison of top 10 and bottom 10 countries. So the report for the year 2021 has total 191 countries, and there are countries who have excellent human development component, whereas there are countries which are lagging behind. So if we talk in terms of the master report, Switzerland tops in the list with a human development index of 0.962, top in the rank. HDI, in terms of last year HDI 2020, Switzerland was on third number, and for the current year 2021, Switzerland top in the list. So highest level of human development in Switzerland, followed by Norway. Norway was at the top in the year 2020 and now second number. Similarly, Iceland, Hong Kong, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, Germany and Netherlands. These are top countries in terms of human development index. And if we compare the independent component, say life expectancy at birth, These top countries have life expectancy of the birth around 80 plus. Okay, 80 plus. Switzerland has 84 years. So on an average, at the time of birth, individual is expected to live for 84 years. So this is life expectancy of those top 10 countries. If you talk about expected years of schooling, again, it is in the range of 16 to around 21. So very high expected years of schooling for those nations. Mean years of schooling, again in this top 10 nations, ranges from 11 to highest somewhere around 13 point or 14.1. Per capita income 66,000, 64,000. So these are the countries where per capita income is also high. So these are the countries which are having high life expectancy at the birth. In education also they are performing better. And in terms of living standard measured by per capita income, they are doing fantastically. That's why these countries are on the top of the list in terms of Human Development Index. Vis-a-vis these top 10 countries, if you look at the bottom 10, South Sudan, Chad, Niger, Central African Republic, Burundi, Mali, Mozambique, Burkina Faso and Yemen. Now here the HDI index is very low. The lowest one for South Sudan is 0.385. Okay, so very low HDI. In terms of life expectancy at birth, if we compare the top 10 and bottom 10, we can see huge difference. Here life expectancy of the birth is around 60, below 60. Similarly, expected years of schooling is very low, ranges from 5 years, 5.5 to around 10.7. So very low expected years of schooling. Similarly, very low mean years of schooling. And also in per capita income is very low. Lowest per capita income has been measured at $732 for Burundi, followed by maybe how much? $768 for South Sudan. And vis-a-vis, if you compare this with top 10, we can see huge difference. 50,000 plus and then less than 2,000 practically, except this Burkina 2,000. All are again this Mali for 2,000. All have even varies around less than $1,500. Huge difference there. This is what Human Development Index of top 10 bottom countries, which gives you a global picture. If we talk about India, where do we stand? It's very important for us to know where India stands. So let me take you to the entire human development raw data. Now this is a data available from UNDP website, and just to zoom in up, where do India stand? So I'm putting Control F and trying to find out India. This is where do we need. So India stands at rank 132 in Human Development Index. So out of 192 countries, we are at 132 and our index value is 0.633. Life expectancy at birth in India is around 67.2 years. Expected years of schooling is around 11.7. Mean years of schooling is 6.7. And per capita income, again to emphasize, it is purchasing power parity based. It is 6590. Much lower than what it's supposed to be. But still, we'll be coming to the database that we have done reasonably good in terms of our performance over a period of time. In the same database, let's find out where do our competitors, we always compare ourselves with China because human development is always about people. And in terms of populations, we are the one who are comparing. So let's find out where China is. And this is what a China is. China is at 79th number with an index of 0.769. Life expectancy at birth is 78, much higher than what we have in India. Expected years of schooling 14.2, mean years of schooling 7.6, and per capita income in terms of purchasing power is 17,000. We India are at around 6,500. So if we compare India and China, China is much ahead than what we are. Let's see one more country, Sri Lanka. Sorry. This is Sri Lanka, 73, much ahead than India. In terms of index, Sri Lanka is again, if you compare Sri Lanka and China, Sri Lanka is doing better than even a China. Maybe small countries, but our neighboring one. Expected year of life expectancy 76. Expected years of schooling 14.1. Mean years of schooling 10. And GNI per capita around 12,000. This is what Sri Lanka is doing. And we always try to find out where Pakistan is. So here's the Pakistan. Let me highlight it. 161. So Pakistan is among low human development group, where India is among the middle human development index. Pakistan is at 161 with an index of 0.544. Life expectancy is 66. Expected years of schooling 8.7. Mean years of schooling 4.5. And per capita income $4,624. This is what world picture is. And this entire data are available on the website. If you need this information, if you need this data file, feel free, just drop in a mail to me and I'll mail you the data file. Back to our own report. Yeah. This is what Indian scenario from 1991 to 21 is typo error. It is 2021. This yellow line indicates the index. So over a period of time, if you look at this yellow line, human development index of India has been improving, and there is slight decline during this year because of pandemic. So over a period of time, index has improved. But when we compare the rank, India was 116 to 115. From there, so it was a reasonably good. Our performance in terms of global comparison was not so good. We reached to around 137, 138 rank, and then improved a bit, reached to 127. So in 2016, India's rank in Human Development Index was 127. Since then, our performance has slightly deteriorated. Okay, so from 127, today we are at 132. So this is the time where we need to look in terms of what are we doing in terms of human development. This change could have been because of multiple factors, including number of countries which are included in index. But if we focus on a global picture and look at this since 2016, it's time for us to do an introspection to find out where do we stand. In terms of value, human development index value, it was 0.434 in the year 1990, and gradually it has been improving, and we reached to a stage where the index value was more or less stable at 0.645 in the year 18 and 19. But then recently it has declined. So this recent decline can be attributed to COVID pandemic, and it is not in the case of India, it's a global scenario. This is an important indicator where we are trying to find out gender differences, and we always talk in terms of gender parity, gender equalities. So this three different color line, the middle one, white one, indicates Human Development Index in general for entirely India for 1991 to 2021, whereas the yellow line indicates HDI for male and blue line indicates HDI for female. So if you compare these three, there has been a difference between male and female. Human Development Report Index for female has been much lower than that of male, and that trend continues since 1991. And recently, if you look at, there is slight reduction in the gap, which is again noticed by UNDP as well. So we can say that slightly we have reduced the gap between male and female in terms of human development, but still there is huge difference. In terms of HDI, male is above the national average, whereas female is much below the national average. This is an indication of the fact that it's time for the government to take an appropriate action. Within individual parameters, life expectancy at birth, one of the parameters, it was around 58.65. So life expectancy at birth was 58.65 in the year 1990, and then over a period of time it has improved, and today we are around 70. This decline is can be attributed to pandemic. So on an average, life expectancy at birth is around 70.15 years. So from 58, we have reached to 70. So we can consider this as a bit of progress. But still, when it comes to global average, still there is a lot of scope for work for the improvement. Expected years of schooling. If you look at this initial year, okay, from 1991 to nearly 2003, it was more or less flat. After 2003, government took an initiative of focusing more on education, and because of that, expected years of schooling has improved, which can be visible here. But this trend was up to the year 17. After that, there has been a slight decline, okay, and more or less things have not improved. So again, this is a cause of concern for all of us, for some action to be taken to increase this expected years of schooling if we want India's HDI rank to improve. In terms of mean years of schooling, there has been a marked progress since 1991 from 2.78 years. Today we are at around 6.66 years. So mean years of schooling has improved a lot since 1991. But still, when you compare with our neighbor, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, when you compare the global average, still lot of scope for improvement. When you say per capita GNI, in the year 1991, it was $1,790, improved, and major improvement can be seen after the year 2009. It has been a steep increase in per capita national income, and we reached to around $6,650 per capita GNI. But again, because of pandemic, it declined a bit, but again shows post-pandemic a slight improvement. So we expect that this trend will continue. But it is important to note that though we have seen a remarkable progress in per capita gross national income, our GNI per capita is much lower when we compare ourselves with China, Sri Lanka, and other neighboring countries. So it is important for us to compare the per capita GNI with our neighboring countries and take corrective measures. Looking at this Indian scenario, this is a quote that I've already taken from HDI report 2021, which is worth mentioning. Human Development report shows that progress globally has inverse. So it is very clearly mentioned by Human Development report itself that the progress in global has reversed. So the entire world is showing the negative result. So India is not an exception. So whatever decline in human development is India is facing, it is a reflection of the global picture and specifically the impact of pandemic. India's decline in human development is a mirror that trend impacted by intersecting crises. So India is again a mirror image of the global picture because of crisis. But there is a good news. Again, this is a quote from UNDP report 2021. Compared to 2019, the impact of inequalities on human development is lower. So Human Development report mentioned that inequalities, gender inequalities are reducing. This is a good sign, good news for India. India is bridging human development gap between men and women faster than the world. So world at large, the trend is observed in terms of reducing the gap between human development male and female. But compared to global average, India is doing reasonably good. And this development has come at the smaller cost of environment in terms of environmental impact of environment. So we are protecting our environment and we are still developing. India's growth story reflects country's investment in inclusive growth. So this inclusive growth for India is reflected in India's progress, social protection, gender responsive policies, and push towards renewables to ensure no one is left behind. So Indian government has actively been working towards investment in inclusive growth, social protection, gender development, renewable energy part of it, and we always focus on involving everybody into the growth process. So these are the quotation from President Representative of UNDP in India. That's a good sign for India as well. This report recommend implementing policies that focuses on three investment. This is important for our policy making. 3I: investments, investment in renewable energy, so that we are prepared for pandemic. So that is insurance. For social protection. So first I is investment in renewable energy. Second I is insurance, that is preparedness for pandemic. And to prepare our societies for ups and downs of an uncertain world. So the insurance is to protect the people for these ups and downs. And third I, innovation. In its many forms, technological innovations, economic innovation, and also cultural innovations, which can build the capabilities of the people and make them capable to respond the challenges that they may come in the future. So UNDP report focused on 3 I's for India: investments, insurance, and innovations. In part one of the sessions, we have discussed about human development index and human development report, where India stands. So we have talked about economic growth, economic development, human development index, human development report. Where do you find the report? What are the parameters of human development report? We also covered a topic like where world stand, the top 10 countries and bottom 10 countries in terms of human development index, and also where do India stands. We have talked about Indian situation in terms of human development index. This part of the presentation we are focusing more on gender dimension. When human development index is prepared, they have a gender dimension data. So what we did is we have collected the data related to gender dimension of human development index with specific reference to India. So what is the gender dimension of human development index with specific reference to Indian situation? That's what the goal of this presentation is. And something that we already covered, just to have a recap, human development index composed of three dimensions: long and healthy life, knowledge, and decent standard of living. And these three dimensions are measured through different indicators: life expectancy at birth, expected years of schooling, mean years of schooling, and per capita gross national income. These are the dimensions under which HDI is prepared. So for preparation of HDI, they have special indices: life expectancy index, education index, and GNA index. We already covered HDI, HD Human Development Report since 1991. Human Development Reports data are available, and we have used that HDI data related to gender dimension for India based on HDI reports. This is the last Human Development Report that we had for the year 21-22, published by Human Development Program. In my earlier lecture, we have already covered this part, and details were shared with you for Human Development Report if somebody want to read through the entire report. Something that we already covered, so these are the top 10 and bottom 10 countries. Switzerland at the top, followed by Norway, Iceland, Hong Kong, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, Germany, Netherlands are the top 10 countries. And if you look at their HDI values, it is in the range of 0.962 is the highest one. Let me show you. Yeah. Okay. Let me put the marker color. Yeah. So the highest one for Switzerland, 0.962 at the top, followed by Norway, Ireland, and others. On the other side, the lowest HDI, because HDI is total 191 countries, lowest was for South Sudan, 0.385. Something that we have covered. Just for the reference, we are doing this part. Something that we have discussed about HDI rank since 2019 to 2021, and the yellow line indicates the HDI index, index value. So from 0.434, India reached 0.642. So since 92-21, the HDI index for India has been improving. There has been a slight decline, especially after 16, and the major decline is observed during COVID period. If you look at the India's rank, we were among at the 116 rank and improved a lot to 115, probably in the year of 1994. But then it has been fluctuating. Performance was not so good. We reached to an index of how much? 138 during this period. So where the not so good performance for India, but again started improving, and we reached to 127 in the year 2016. But after 2016, again our performance was not so good when you compare the global picture, and again the ranking has started moving up. And according to the latest report 2021, we are at 132. Last year it was 130. So among 191 countries, India stands at 132. So though index has been improving, but performance when we compare with the rank of the other countries is not so good and cause of concern for government to take some action on this. Something that we have already covered in the last lecture, this was the gender comparison of Human Development Index. So HDI, overall HDI, HDI male and HDI female. If you look at this data, this yellow line indicates Human Development Index for male. Blue line indicates for female and white one is all India average. Two things to be noted here is since 90 to 2021, HDI index for all India, male as well as female has been improving. Except the recent situation, more or less it is not so doing good. But second important component here is the HDI index of male and female, okay, was different. HDI index of male was much above the national average, whereas female it was much below the national average. So male human development is much more higher than that of female. But something that United Nations has also noticed that over a period of time, the gap between this male and female, what you call gender gap, has been decreasing. It was very wide here. If you look at this arrow that I am making in, but gradually it has declined. So India to an extent has succeeded in reducing this gender gap in human development. But we'll be looking at the parameter wise as well, where the performance has been improving and where are we lagging behind. This is life expectancy at birth, which is nothing but number of years that newborn could expect to live. That is average expected lifespan. Overall, male and female, all three indicators are available to us. And if you look at this trend, one of course the declining trends in recent period, but other striking feature is during 90, 90, 91, 93, the initial phase, there was not much gap. But over a period of time, the gap between male and female is increasing. And here, life expectancy of birth for female is higher. Has been higher compared to that of male, but the life expectancy of female has been increasing at a rate faster than that of male. So female on an average are doing good on these parameters. Something to be noted here. Second parameter, expected years of schooling, that is nothing but an educations. Number of years when the child enters to a school, how many years is expected to study as part of the educations, either in the school or the university level. And here, if you look at this yellow line, is for male, white one is for female. But the striking feature is, in the initial phase, the gap between male and female was very wide. Female education, expected years of schooling for female was much lower than that of male. There was a huge difference. But over a period of time, this gap has been reducing. And there's a time, say, probably we can call it around 11, 12. Okay, expected years of schooling for female has crossed that of male. So till 2012, expected year of schooling for female was less than that of male, whereas after 12, expected year of schooling for male is lower than that of female. And if you look at the recent picture, more or less, they are converging to each other. So that is something which is to be noted here. So I can say, female performance has been much better than that of a male performance. If you look at mean years of schooling, the picture is slightly different. This mean years of schooling is average number of completed years of education. So those who are not School going age 25 plus. What is average years of education that they have? And here, the average years of schooling of male is much higher than that of female. Of course, both are improving, but there's a gap. And over a period of time, see, after 2000, the gap was widening, but recent pictures say after around 15, the gap has again started reducing. So the gap between average number of schooling by female and that of male are getting into convergence mode. That's where the difference comes in. If you look at gross national income, now this is a striking figure for me. Gross national income per capita, and this yellow line indicates GNI for male, this blue line indicates GNI for female, and this white one is for average overall. Here there's a striking difference. And over a period of time, the gender gap in terms of gross national income is increasing. So though the national income overall for India is increasing, but for male that increase rate is much faster than that of female. This is something which is affecting the HDI for female, because this is an important component for HDI. This is something where we call it real income disparities between male and female. And these disparities are increasing over a period of time. So it's time for government to take some policy action to work on this. Then Human Development Report also gives two important parameters. One is GDI, that is Gender Development Index, and other is GII, Gender Inequality Index. And this Gender Development Index measures the difference between male and female. Okay, and if you look at this white line, is indicating Gender Development Index, and this increasing trend indicates that gender gap is increasing. The difference between male and female on all these parameters of HDI. So gender gap is increasing in terms of HDI over a period of time. Recently, the curve seems more flat, so we can say not increasing that faster rate, but over a period of time, if you look at the long-term trend, it shows increasing gap. But when you look at these gender inequalities, okay, gender inequality index shows a declining. So this gender inequalities index is prepared based on important dimension: reproductive health, empowerment, and labor market. So on three parameters, GI is prepared. And if you look at this GI in terms of three parameters, the declining trend indicates that yes, gender inequality index is decreasing. So gender inequalities are decreasing, but gender development is increasing. We'll talk about these important parameters of GI as well. So what is GI and what are the parameters? This is a brief outline of gender inequality index. And it talks of three dimension: reproductive health, which is measured through maternal mortality rate and adolescent fertility; empowerment through parliamentary representations and education attainment; labor market through labor force participation rate. So these are the parameters, indicators which are used for calculation of gender inequality index. And if you look at the data about this, what happened to maternal mortality ratio, that is death per 1 lakh live birth. Death per 1 lakh live birth. It means how many female die while giving birth to a new baby out of 1 lakh live birth. And if you look at the scenario over a period of time, it was as high as 519, close to 600 women used to die while giving birth to a new baby out of 1 lakh. And this number has started declining, and now we are close to around 133. So since we can say 17 onwards, the curve is now more flat. It's not declining no more. But it has been suggesting a declining trend. But even if you look at this number 133 in context to the global average, it is on higher side. So it is cause of concern for all of us. If you look at this adolescent birth rate, it means number of live births to a woman in the age of 15 to 19. This is an adolescent age. And the number was 122 near in the year 1990, overall suggesting a declining trend and reaching to around 17. So 17.23 per thousand. So out of 1000 births, 17 births are by a woman in their age bracket of 15 to 19, not so mature age. It's an adolescent age. So it's cause for concern for us. And still, it is time for us, time for the government, time for the policymakers to come up with some solution to this. And again, if you look at the recent data, since 15, more or less is a flattening curve and is cause of concern for all of us. If you look at the seats in the parliament, what percentage of share that women had in the parliament was compared to their counterpart male, and the overall trend shows the convergent part. So the gap has been reducing, but still, if you look at the data 21, 86% seats are by share in the parliament seats are by male, whereas female representation is still 13.44%. But over a period of time, from 7.34, it increased to 13, so nearly doubled. But it took lot many years, 1990 to 2020. Whereas compared to the share of male in the parliament was 92, decreased to around 86, still not much difference. But good part is the gap is towards a convergence part. If you look at the labor force participation is nothing but part of the labor force for the people who are age 15 and above. It means part of the population in the age group of 15 and above, how many of them are part of the labor force? And again, when you look at the data, the overall difference between male and female has not changed much over a period of time. The gap between these two lines, blue line and white line, has more or less remained the same over a period of time. The labor force participation for the male was around 84, declined to around 70. Whereas in terms of female, from 30 it declined to around 90. It means labor force participation rate of both the generations are declining. But for female, it declined from 30 to 19, nearly 20, we can say. From 84 to 70. But still, there's a huge gap in terms of labor force participation. So we want our female member in the labor force to be economically contributing as well, along with all their social household responsibility that they are very well doing with us. So this is all from my side for the sessions. I hope you have enjoyed. You can reach out to me on my email ID kishorkishu@gmail.com. Feel free to share your comments, suggestions, feedback. And again, like to take this opportunity to thank UGC HRDC Center, Gujarat University, Professor Jagdish Joshi, Professor Mamta Brahmbhatt, and all the participants of this refresher course for giving me this opportunity to share my views on this topic. Thank you. Thanks a lot.